across space to hit you. What you're feeling is you're feeling all of the particles in the air smacking across your face. That's what wind is, and that's also when you wave your hand at your face, you're feeling that air hit your face. You're feeling the oxygen, you're feeling the nitrogen, the argon, and all the other greenhouse gases in the air smack across your face, and it just barely touches you because you have very small air particles that are actually hitting you. Okay? Now, what I'd like to do is show you guys, I'd like to show you that air pressure is a real thing. So we have this stuff around us, and just like if you could talk to a fish, if you were to ask a fish what it's doing in the water or how the heck it lives in the water, it couldn't answer that question because it doesn't know. It doesn't know that there's water around it. And that's the same thing that's true for us. That's the same thing that's true for us. We don't realize our surroundings, and we don't realize that there's air all around us and that it's doing anything. A fish would ask us, how the heck do you guys live in the air? So we live in this stuff. This stuff that's around us is literally allowing us to survive, and we have to somehow navigate through it, and we have to figure out how to breathe in all this stuff that we call air. The ocean, the fish, they don't realize that water's around them. We forget that the air around us is something. So I need to prove to you that not only is the air there, when you feel it hit your face, I can prove to you it's there, but I need to now show you the effects that it has on us. Since we're born into this world, we don't really realize the effects that air pressure have on us all the time. So in this container, I blew up a balloon this morning, and the balloon is in the container now, and inside of the balloon, there are certain forces that I blew that air into the balloon, so we have forces pushing on the balloon that make it this size. The air outside of the balloon is applying a force to the balloon as well. And it's forcing that from all directions. Okay, so this is the amount of air pressure outside of the balloon. The amount of air pressure inside the balloon is trying to push out on the air, but it can't quite push very hard because the air is pushing in on the balloon. So to prove that point to you, and to prove that I'm not just a crazy scientist, I am a crazy scientist, but I'm going to prove to you anyway about air pressure, that if I were to take this pump here, this pumps air out of this container. If I'm pumping air out of the container, then there's less particles that are going to be in here, meaning that there isn't the oxygen, the argon, and the nitrogen in here anymore. I'm going to remove it. So it's like if you had to walk around with 100 books on your head, you'd probably walk around a little straight, and you'd be like, oh my gosh. And if I remove those books, you'd stand up a little bit straighter. You'd be like, ooh, nice. This is good. I'm glad I don't have all this pressure and weight on me. So if I remove the pressure and the weight from this balloon, what should you expect to see happen to this balloon? What do you think, Arya?
It's going to get bigger.
You think it will get bigger? Okay. So I'm going to remove the pressure on the balloon, and it'd be like if I removed the number of books on your head, or if you were trying to push your arms out, if there was less pressure pushing on you, it'd be easier to push your arms. So let's see if that happens. Okay, based on the resistance there, I can't really pull any more air out of there. So I think most of the air around the balloon is now gone. You can see that balloon increased in size because there's not as much stuff around it pushing on it anymore. But there's stuff around this container pushing on it, and look you can see that this container actually has a concave surface. And it's because the air around it is trying to push on it right now because there's nothing inside the container pushing out against the air around it. Yeah, Ella?
When we did the experiment with the cup, the bottom of the cup was connected like that.
Okay, and maybe that was the air pressure pushing really hard against the card then. Yeah.
Wait, what happens if it gets air back? Will it get smaller?
So if I put air back into this, great question, is that I'm going to apply more particles around it, and if there's stuff surrounding it, then it should constrict it again. So that noise, that hissing you hear, is air going back into the container, and then it pushes back on that balloon in a way that you now have that balloon back at the same size it was. Okay? Yeah, Brooklyn?
How in the world did that get bigger? 'Cause
Okay, I just explained that, and I'll explain it again with some other examples, okay?
Do the marshmallows. Yeah.
Shiloh.
So with the balloon, is it like is that same thing happening when you say if you get a balloon like at a restaurant or something and you leave it out and it gets smaller, is that what's happening?
The reason it's getting smaller from like if you have it for a long time is probably because a little bit of the air is escaping. Okay, so I've got, for example, when we went backpacking, Damien brought a bag of Doritos, and his Dorito bag got really big, and I had a bag of Doritos here, and I put it in the container, but the force inside of the bag was pushing so hard that it broke the seal, so I can't show you the bag of Doritos, but I grabbed some oatmeal bags here. So if I had these oatmeal bags here, and if I brought these up to 14,000 feet, like to the top of a mountain, or 20,000 feet to like way up in the atmosphere, let's see what would happen if I had these in my backpack. And if I removed the amount of air pressure by going higher up in altitude, so I'm pumping air out. I'm pumping out the molecules that are around these bags. And when I remove the molecules that are around the bags, those bags have air trapped inside of them. The air trapped inside of them are going to have more of a force to push out on the container. So you can see that those definitely got puffed up.
It's like a popcorn bag.
If I let the air back in, letting the air back in squishes them again because now there's a lot of stuff around it pushing on those oatmeal bags. Hannah?
Let's talk about that, but like with the balloon. Didn't you only put a certain amount of air inside the balloon in the first place? Like how would it expand if you only put a certain amount of air in it? Like
Okay, good question.
air leaking through the little hole in the balloon?
So one second here, let me grab all my marshmallows. Okay, so the reason that the balloon got bigger is not because air entered the balloon. The balloon had air inside of it that was pushing like this. And it couldn't push its arm all the way because the air was pushing in on it. So the second that I removed the air from around it, it was like, and it was able to expand because it wasn't having all that pressure around it. And so it could spread out a lot easier. Because the force never changed inside of the balloon, what I did was I removed the outside force. So if I remove that outside force, it can now move.
How do we put this into our notebooks?
In a second, I'll explain that a little bit more. So let's look at some marshmallows then, okay? Here's my marshmallows. And these marshmallows have been through a lot today. They're looking pretty sad in there. But let's see if I can get them to be a little bit more happy. So again, marshmallows are a squishy substance that have certain forces pushing on them to be the size that they are. So if I now remove the force from around the marshmallows, then what should you expect should happen to the marshmallows? Yeah, they should expand in size. And if I shake it up a little bit to allow them to kind of have the space they need. Okay, so right now, those marshmallows are looking a lot happier than they were before when I had them in there. I've removed most of the air from this container. So again, the marshmallows are trying to push out when air's around them, but they can't push out very hard. But once I remove that pressure from around them, they're able to expand, but only to a certain point. The marshmallow is not going to get any bigger than what it is here, because it's just like me. Once the pressure's from around me, I can only stick my arms out so far. I'm not go-go gadget. I can't keep my hands going and going and going and going. I'm a certain size, and so once you reach that maximum size, they're not just gonna all of a sudden explode. Let's see what happens if I allow all that force to now push on the marshmallows again. Let me see if I can get it. There's the marshmallows again. But now they have air pressure around them.